All right, let's get into the weekly brief for the week of October 28th to November 2nd. Kind of got a new arrangement here. I attempted to move my home gym into this room unsuccessfully. It absolutely demolished the door frame with the treadmill I was trying to move in here. Failed miserably at this task. So kind of doing some rearranging. So a little different scenery than normal for this week. But anyways, let's get into the week of training. As always, I'm going to go through the Patrol Ready track. If I say a certain prescribed weight or a certain specific exercises, just know that they're going to scale up or scale down depending on which track of training you're following. So if you're on the hard charger or if you're on the on ramp, it's going to scale up for the hard charger. It's going to scale down for the on ramp. Just keep that in mind as I go into it. But also the spirit of the training session, the intent behind the training session is the same regardless of the track. All right, so let's get into it. Monday, October 28th, lower body strength and hypertrophy, and then short conditioning. For the strength, it's going to be take as many sets as you need to find your 5 rep max. You're going to drop 20 pounds and then do 2 sets of max reps with that weight, with that reduced weight off of your max. Those max sets might be 2 reps. It depends on your strength endurance level. Maybe you get closer to 5, something like that. But I'm not expecting a ton of reps out of them. But you are pushing the intensity if you have it there to give it. For our hypertrophy, it's gonna be front squats at 3 sets of 12, and then walking lunges. With walking lunges, remember that if you have more forward lean, particularly at the hip, and specifically at the hip, it's going to be more of the posterior chain, so your glutes, your hamstrings. If you're more upright, it'll probably hit more of the quadricep. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I'm just saying it so that you're aware and you can kind of play around with different hip angles on your walking lunges. Remember, for hypertrophy, we're going to train close to failure. We're going to train slow, smooth through a full range of motion. All right, not using a ton of momentum, and we want to get close to failure, if not to failure. So when I say close to failure, I would say within 3 reps in reserve, meaning that on your last rep, you couldn't do 3, 2, or 1 more rep, that kind of thing. Close to failure, true failure. For our circuit, our short conditioning, it's going to be 4-time 800-meter run, 50 thrusters, 30 pull-ups. It's going to be more of a chipper. So do the 800-meter run first, do your 50 thrusters. It's going to be a low weight, and then 30 pull-ups, modify those as needed. I'm not, for the purposes of upper body pull, vertical pulling strength, I'm not a fan of kipping or butterfly pull-ups, but for the purposes of work capacity development, doing more work in less time, I am a fan of those, what people would consider cheating pull-ups, what you, the listener right now, would consider cheating pull-ups. I'm not going to argue with you. It's a different exercise. It's a different movement than a strict pull-up. And you can do more of them in less time. And for the purposes of conditioning, for the purposes of developing your capacity to do work, I'm a fan of them. So that's up to you how you want to play. If you want to just do strict, or if you want to make a modified strict, like banded assistance or slow eccentric pull-ups, you can modify it for you. I put the substitute in there as inverted rows, particularly more so for people that if you didn't have a pull-up bar, that's what it's there for. All right, Tuesday, October 29th, upper body strength and hypertrophy, and then our sprint conditioning. Sprint conditioning is my personal favorite. I like to just go full send on it instead of a long, slow drag, but my personal preference. Anyways, strict press, same concept as our deadlift. Take as many sets as you need to build to your 5 rep max. You're going to drop 20 pounds and do 2 sets of max reps from there, resting 2 to 5 minutes in between. For our hypertrophy, supinated grip bent over rows. Make sure you're getting full scapular protraction at the bottom. So you're getting a big mid-back stretch. Your lats, your rhomboids are all stretched at the bottom. Slight pause at the bottom. Slow and controlled full contraction at the top. And then our other movements, incline bench press. If you don't have an incline bench press, you don't have anything nothing you can put your bench safely up on, a platform to make your bench an incline bench. Feel free to just do regular old bench press, perfectly fine. 3 sets of 12 for both those exercises, again, training close to failure through a full range of motion. For our sprint conditioning, 30 ground to overhead, 4 times. That's all it is. One simple movement. Get the bar from the ground to overhead, or get the implement, whatever you're using to lift, get it from the ground to over your head as 30 times as quickly as possible. Simple. Simple, not easy. Thursdays are EFC, active recovery day. Thursday, we have power training and then moderate conditioning and then core. So for our power training, I've mentioned it a bunch of times, but power is a variable of power is time. So the faster you move, the more powerful the movement if the force stays the same. So I've been picking movements that are inherently powerful movements. For example, power clean this week, or a substitute for that would be like a hang clean high pull. It's a movement you really just can't do it slow. You have to be fast to do it. For this, we're gonna build to a 5 rep max, just same as before, drop 20 pounds, and then we're gonna do 2 sets for max reps from there. Same concept as our strength training. We're just doing it with a power movement here. For our circuit, for our conditioning, with a weight vest or plate carrier if you have one, 15 minutes, as many rounds as possible, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, 15 minutes of that. It's not 15 minutes isn't very long, which is relative. Time, I suppose, is relative, but that's going to be a grind. It's going to get boring, monotonous. And that's kind of the point. That's kind of part of the point, not the main point, but a tertiary reason for this type of prescribed workout is to mentally have to deal with the fact that it's not fun and you're continuing to push yourself despite the workout itself not being overly motivating. It's that mental game to get more done in less time or in that same amount of time. So that's what we got for the conditioning. Building on our plank and side plank progressions after that. Friday's our flex Friday, sets of 12 throughout, suitcase carries at 30 seconds at the end of that one. For our tactical Saturday, we're going to do a T agility drill, 5 sets of 1, do it one time, do it one round of it 5 times, rest as needed in between to be able to go max speed, max explosiveness, max accuracy of movement. So take as much, if you have time to give, take the time in between those sets to give a maximum effort. And then for our conditioning, it's going to be a half Murph, 800 meter run, 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 air squats, 800 meter run with a vest or plate carrier. Partition, you do this how you want. Some people run it like a chipper. I prefer to do it where you partition it as you see fit. So your pull-ups, push-ups, and air squats are, you could do 5, 10, 15, however you want to break it up. That way it keeps it moving, it keeps you working versus having to get to a point where you're doing one pull-up at a time and it's just dragging out because you're at muscular failure with your pull-ups or any of the movements. So I prefer to partition it. That way you keep moving. It pushes that aerobic system a little bit harder than if you weren't to partition. For the tactical skill integration, we're going to do every 3 minutes, apply a tourniquet to a limb, or even better, to someone else's limb, your partner, with consent, please. A buddy's limb, partner, someone you're working out with, their limb. It's important to practice self-aid, but the act of buddy aid is a different skill. So practice that as well. If not in our tactical skill integration within our tactical Saturdays, at least on your own time, on shift, before shift with a partner, with your partner in particular. Make sure you know where their tourniquet's at and all that. And that's your week of training. It's going to be a good one. Let's get after it.